today. But we have supply chain technology, healthcare, and among the professional lenses represented here, we have HR, talent acquisition, as well as business as well. So the GCC landscape as we know it is undergoing a tectonic shift, and we're moving away from traditional metro-centric models to more of a distributed footprint in both tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And so this is not just about cost anymore. It's more of a strategic move towards unlocking untapped talent, fostering regional development, building resilient and future-ready organizations. With that context, my first question to you, gentlemen, and we'll give maybe all of you all an opportunity to give us a quick bite on what you think. What do you see as the biggest strategic advantage of expanding GCCs into tier 2 and tier 3 cities beyond cost arbitrage?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Ragini, for the quick intro. And for me, coming from a tier 2 city, and also we have set up operations. I'm part of an organization called CorroHealth. We are an healthcare analytics integrated healthcare RCM solution provider company. So we have set up operations in Coimbatore, Kochi, Calicut. We've scaled up close to 4,000 in the last 3 years in tier 2, tier 3 cities. Like biggest advantage for us is being first mover, access to talent pool, availability of STEM grads, and primarily retention. So these are biggest influencers for us.
All right, over to you, Rajesh.
I'm going to take a little more from a business standpoint. I think the cost arbitrage is completely a run-over concept anymore in GCCs. Nobody really is talking much about it. But one of the things I really notice why businesses want to be in tier 2 cities is that there is a big hub and spoke model, which is getting influenced in the way how GCCs are setting up. And you definitely want your informative strategic centers in one place and the operation centers in another place. The third aspect I see that when you're divided between the large scales and the mid and the short scales, they definitely want to put their bet in where they really think they can bite a lot more. So tier 2 cities become extremely crucial at that time. Far-fetched, you get grade A candidates, you get grade A infrastructure. It's very easy to come and set it up. You find a lot more loyalty from candidates who get in there. The competitive kill is very less at that time. I'm sure the HR folks wouldn't stretch much on that one. So that way, business models make a big difference. And tier 2 cities definitely are quite a crowd puller when it comes to the GCCs there now.
So from a tier 2 and tier 3 perspective, right? So I come from a talent acquisition background. So from an industry perspective, organizations are trying to look at definitely cost arbitrage. It started from cost arbitrage, but nowadays it's all about talent diversification, as well as the talent retention as well. So tier 2 is really sort of feeding in, like he also mentioned, the hub and spoke model. While a lot of GCCs have their main centers in the major metros, but the tier 2 cities are playing a very pivotal role in really creating a cluster for certain specific skills and departments. Example, one of the recent study by, or analyst study released by Zenova Consulting says that at a rate of tier 1 versus tier 2 city expansions are moving at a pace as good as 37% higher than a tier 1 expansion for the organizations. So that tells us for a precise reason why this is happening in such a rate. Example, there are a lot of proven tier 2 cities, right, that are up and running. In Jaipur, organizations are trying to focus on a fintech workforce base. A place like a Cochin is really scaling up for all our IT infrastructure sort of a thing. Coimbatore, in all aspects of new gen technologies, from a typical IT service consulting to a data science labs and so on and so forth. So beyond cost arbitrage, there are a lot of transformative, it's a talent retention, productivity aspect of it, the cost models. Of course, the cost is very, very important. Organizations are still saving a lot of cost on infrastructures. As simple as how much time employees are taking to commute in a tier 1 city versus tier 2 city, how that is linked to the productivity aspects and so on and so forth. So these are some of the trends that are pushing organizations to look at tier 2 versus tier 3?
I guess the last shot at it, but I'll take a different view on this one. My view will be more from an academic perspective, and we have been feeding the talent pipelines and having served at universities in Punjab, in Uttarakhand, in Haryana, in Himachal Pradesh, and now in Karnataka. I can safely tell you that students, when they are going out of the campus, they are looking for a job. That is their first criteria, and a well-paying one. But if they have a wish to make, they would definitely like to stay near to their locations rather than going far away. That is one thing. So then from that standpoint, early talent acquisition exercises would be specific to those cities where these tier 2 or tier 3 city-based GCCs will set up. Having said that, we need to look at the data points, certain data points, which are brought for you. So Bangalore has almost 40% of the GCCs, which are already established. Hyderabad is currently sitting at 17%, Chennai at 15%, Pune 12%, Delhi at 13%. So these are your major cities where you see a lot of GCC being set up. But till how long cities like Bangalore or Hyderabad, they can expand. There is a limit to it. There's an estimate 1.51 crore will be the population of this city where we are sitting right now. So it makes much more sense to diversify it. And to that extent, you can, if you will scout, you will find that there are certain state governments which are coming up with policies which are very, very similar to the one that state of Karnataka has put up. And even state of Karnataka has a policy which is incentivizing the GCCs to be set up in cities like Mysore or Mangalore. And there have been some efforts from the Ministry of, from the local government ministers also. What I see as an advantage in this one is that I guess we have heard attrition more than one time today in the hall. And tier 2 and tier 3 cities, if we are able to funnel in talent locally from the nearby geographies into those GCCs, it's no fun to make a person travel from Bangalore and go and work in a GCC based out of Jaipur. That is not the fun. If you can nurture talent locally and then provide those talents to the local GCC setup, being set up, then I guess this is a win-win situation which will solve a lot of demographic challenges that we're facing. And it will definitely be a cost saver. That is also my opinion. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's a variety of insights there coming in from different industries. With that, let's move to a different dimension of this conversation. And I'd like to ask this question to Rajesh. And this is more from business, right? How are global clients actually reacting to the idea of delivery from non-metro locations? Are their perceptions changing?
Oh, definitely, yes. Their perceptions changing and by far in a large way. I think most of them, at least the global dynamic thought process is that more about build and scale than build and retain, which makes a big difference. Because when you do GCCs in the past, you're talking about, it's evolved from a time of called shared services, then the GBS, then the GCCs, then now it's the GIS. That's the new terminology which is getting in progression. Likewise, which also means the demand for the global customers have been changed a lot. They know there's a lot more we can bring in here. From back offices, we are literally talking about agentic AIs which we can do here. Our product engineering hubs are getting done here. They clearly know that what's in here to get through across. So if you divide them in two aspects, you basically look at like how Monit said, you have the early birds you catch up first. The low-hanging ones are the interns and the ones, the new, fresh graduates which are coming through. And then you break through across with the people who can make decisions and strategic decisions, and they can build products, they have the experience and the expertise. So when you look at that, you get an absolute good balance where you want to. And when your academia is very good at that time, tier 2s are nowhere far behind on that one. Unless you want it very pacey, that's when they go to Bangalore and Hyderabad. But immediately everybody realizes that there's more opportunity when you start looking outside them. What you can ask for is much, much more than what tier 1 can do. So definitely the thought process, there's a huge dynamic shift in the way they look at this and how they want to really push through on the tier 2s and tier 3s.
Jay, I think you have a view you would like to share.
Sure. Could you repeat one more time the question?
Sure. How are global clients reacting to the idea of delivery from non-metro cities? Are their perspectives changing?
Yes, the perspectives are changing. So global organizations have already started looking at or reaping the benefits of getting this productivity aspect from a tier 2 as well. Like we mentioned in the to a response to your first question, there are a variety of reasons why organizations are looking at expansion first. So it's all about multi-factor in terms of tier 1 cities are crowded. That doesn't mean that it's not expanding, but tier 2 cities are equally providing the required talent for certain specific skills and practices. So, the biggest, just to give you an example, right? So if global organizations are trying to look at or trying to scale in a similar pace, right? So earlier there used to be a competition from early career talent. If you were to hire in any of the tier 1 city versus in tier 2 city, you end up paying the similar compensation benchmarks. So organizations are now trying to look at that tier model in the compensation band as well, because it's straight giving them a cut of 15 to 20% lower than the tier 1, right? So likewise, organizations are very cautiously trying to set up, what can go into tier 2 versus tier 1. That's why it is evolving as well. So some of the tier 2 cities have already caught up, and not that only, high-end work is only happening in tier 1. Slowly, gradually, if at all we look at from a trend perspective, all big consulting companies like a Deloitte or a KPMG or a EY, they have a strong presence in these tier 2 cities. I think that's a trend that we are seeing, not just from a skill perspective, skill, talent retention, and aspirations, from these tier 2 students. Of course, whenever we go and look at the aspirations of tier 2 students, we look at 50% of them still want to, they've studied their lifetime in tier 2 itself, but they want to come to tier 1. So you see that trend as well. Vis-a-vis the other side of the population, they'll be more than happy to find a career opportunity, start and live in the place where they've studied. So a lot of interesting trends from a talent perspective, as well as how organizations are trying to realize the value of having a presence in tier 2. The short answer is, of course, they're seeing a huge benefit from it.
Thank you for sharing those thoughts. With that, let's shift gears and explore another important aspect that is shaping our transformation, and that is culture. This question is to you, Vimal. As HR leaders, how do we ensure that organization culture remains consistent across metros and non-metros? How do you balance the need for physical presence with the benefits of remote work, especially in building culture and trust?
Got it. First thing, culture is curated. It's not. It is curated. So first thing, harmonized policies across locations, which is uniform policies with what we follow. Two, as it's an organization, we've harmonized salaries across tier 1, tier 2. It is the same salary band. So we don't differentiate between tier 1, tier 2, tier 2. So that so that is catered. And three, we also ensure sufficient opportunities for upskilling for team members, and that will also enhance culture. So these are aspects what we primarily look into and ensure we are aligned to an organization goals as such.
Rajesh, would you like to add some color there from a business point of view?
See, culture is pretty prevalent, right? I think each organization kind of defines what it needs to be working from a culture standpoint. But I think tier 1 and tier 2 has its own niche of how they carved out, like how Jay said, there's always an aspiration from a tier 2 to come to a tier 1. And typically there are a lot of them in tier 1 who would like to pace off and keep it more easy and where they need to work through across. So this whole hybrid model back to office has actually contributed a lot to the culture, where it's been the large chunk of people who were hired between the 2021, 22, 23, they absolutely did not know what can be done from an office point of view. I see a lot of organizations actually doing a lot on that factor, and it's just not about coming back to office, it's all about saying that what you can get more done here. When you do that, if you look at the recent studies from the Cushmans and the CBREs and JLLs, the infrastructures are getting sold out like hotcake. There are companies who are just happy to take it any number of space, considering next 3 years and 5 years from now, they're more than happy to have people coming to office. They clearly know that they're going to be coming in there. So that kind of investment they would only do if they're going to drive that kind of culture to keep in there. So it's a very incentivized thought process. I'm sure every employee thinks, what's in it for me? And when you do that, it's a lot about contributing, saying that why you should be there also. So organizations definitely do a lot from where the culture makes a difference. Now, Tier 2 cities has its own benefits in the way it needs to be there. I think it keeps it more close-knit. It's, you'll find more common faces in the office when you come to workplaces. Unlike the tier 1s where, you are working, different business models work in different prospects. I have my engineering and product teams who prefer to be once in a day, whereas every other business likes to be there at least for 3 days in a week. And they have their own reasons, and there's one place where there's more noise, and the one place there's a purpose of noise, why they come to the organization. But I see the culture is something which has to be driven. It is going to be evolving. You have to drive it day in and day out. You have to keep it at the same benchmark where you've already set. So there's a lot of opportunities that way, and I think both of them have its own niche in the way how it carves out.
Thank you for that. I actually come from a tier 2 city of Mangalore, so a lot of what you said I could relate to. That actually brings us perfectly to the next part of our theme, and that is academic relationships. This question is for you, Dr. Monit Kapoor. What role do academic partnerships play in building a sustainable talent pipeline in these regions? What are some of the successful models of academia industry collaborations that have helped tier 2 and 3 cities become viable GCC hubs?
See, Ragini, this term, bridging industry academia connect, is such a big term, which has been put to use by many professionals on their resumes, if I may say, on their professional resumes and on their LinkedIn taglines, right? And this is one gap which I guess society has been trying to address, particularly in our country, since I have started into academia, which was way back in 2004. And this gap, I feel, it widens, it narrows, but it never gets filled. So now, next comes in that what kind of arrangements industry can have in our country, because every country has got its own culture. Abroad, it's a little different. Industries are coming out of universities. But we have a different kind of a industry model in our country where we are serving to offshore clients mostly, and the skin in the game is of a different kind. I'll just give you a few examples of various kinds of, allow me 1 extra minute in this one, where various kinds of participations are there. There are models which are existing across institutes of national importance, public sector, public funded, privately funded education institutions, where you will see people from industry who become part and parcel of curriculum development. So curriculum realignment, at this stage, they are so conscious and they'll come and, get the plan right. And then they will become participant to the delivery. So that is one way of looking at industry-academia collaboration. Another interesting piece of collaboration which is very prevalent in engineering education across many universities, I have myself been part of such initiatives where they become part of our revenue. They will come, they will take a pie from the revenue, and then they will deliver trainings to the faculty, and then faculty goes, just like you have inductees. So we have students in our classrooms. And then the third part is where we simply outsource. So this is also one model which is very, very prevalent now in academia, where the talent preparedness needs of the graduating students are offloaded to partners who are on one end talking to the industry and who are on the one end delivering directly to the students. So that is where the industrial academia collaboration stands. So people have made money out of it, and there is philanthropy also. Having said that, now industry academia collaboration has got its various touch points, which are curriculum alignment that I just spoke about, talent pipeline development, which is a very important piece. If any university, public funded or private funded, doesn't provide employment at the end of it, they will be anyhow out of business in 2 years or 3 years at max. Then, if you would have noticed, there is a lot of impetus these days on setting up TBIs inside the universities. and there is a lot of government funding which is available to it. So GCCs which are particularly working in the IP generation part, and this is where we have been reading about that. Now it is more about creating a lot of IP from rather than just doing the delivery. So TRL levels can be fastly achieved inside the labs where multiple students are working on the same problem statement. That is one thing. And to the extent that now Government of India is also started funding these activities. So GCCs plus university, if they combine, they can actually ask for a fund. And there are examples available where such funds have been given to universities, where they have been working on some credible problem statements. So this is one part of it. Now, second part, that whether this industry-academia collaboration has made tier 2, tier 3 as viable destinations for GCCs to be set up. I guess this would be too much of an ask from an academic institution, because so many factors they actually add to what makes a city as a fit to be set for a GCC. Like you mentioned that for sectors, the cities are being identified, which actually baffles me. I mean, how can Jaipur be only good in finance and Pune is bad in that? I mean, this is something that, but you have got your own ways to decide things, which is okay. Which is okay, because at the end, business has to be right. But having said all of that, I think there is definitely an incentive if going forward, because in IP generation is a mandate with the universities also. So if GCCs can step up and just look around what is happening, pay a visit, meet the correct people in the universities who are driving the innovation and the research part, and become part of the activity. Just watch it from sidelines and then jump in as and when they feel like. Surely there will be benefits. And few very easy hanging fruits for GCCs to get connected with the industry is where, with the academia is, where they can upskill their employees who wish to enhance their education qualifications. Because plenty of such programs are being offered by universities of repute to working professionals. So these are my thoughts on this one. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Monit. So we've looked at, the education institutions providing us a talent pool that we can recruit from to really set up GCCs. The flip side is talking about the candidate preferences. And this is to you, Vimal. What shifts have you seen in candidate preferences and expectations when hiring from tier 2, tier 3 cities? What are the trends of talent availability and aspirations that you see?
Yeah, aspirations wise, it is something a lot of members from tier 2, tier 3 focuses on leadership opportunities or longer run in the organization rather than mere job opportunities. And so that is one difference what we see emerging is this is something they aspire to be a leader within the organization. So while earlier it was restricted mere job, so now so that is one aspiration. Looking at to grow within the organization, grow up the ladder is something a lot of tier 2, tier 3 team members are looking at. So that's something. Apart from that, also just quickly would want to touch base on the academia program with which we earlier spoke about. So that's something we built in just to ensure there is a lot of awareness about the industry, about specific skill set. So that is major reason why we get into academia partnership, is to drive awareness among candidates, among freshers in terms of what are the potential job opportunities. So we have done, and a lot of government organizations also we've been involved in third-party organizations, so through which we were able to build sustainable talent pool. So for example, in Coimbatore or Kochi, we've partnered with a lot of colleges. We've enrolled a curriculum, medical coding as a curriculum in these institutes, through which we had sustainable talent pool for next few years. And so just thought of touch basing on the specific topic as such, yeah.
Jay, if you could add to that from your talent acquisition experience on the preferences that you're seeing change among candidates.
Yes. So slowly, gradually, definitely it's shifting and changing. If we look at the tier 2 evolution, any tier 2 city, it has started with early career talent because that's a sizable talent that we've seen. Scales up faster, starts getting into a transformation in a mode. But the trend that I see currently is, if at all, depending upon the job posting index, the mid to senior talent slowly, gradually migrating from a tier 1 to tier 2 talent. So that percentage is growing gradually. We have a center in Coimbatore too. So when we really test it out for niche skill versus a generic skill, so at least I see that, 10 to 15% of the migration population from different cities of India start applying for tier 2 job as well. Reasons are plenty, maybe because of their personal reasons, more stability. They're so purposed with tier 1, city living, whatever it is. But the trend is very, very clear. Mid to senior talent is migrating for sure. But otherwise, there is a very strong base in a tier 2 from a university talent to an early career talent. And that base is, the senior base is growing slowly, gradually. Otherwise, we've seen organizations just putting one site leader over there just to manage things out. As and when more deliverables are expected to deliver, from a specific tier 2 center. So obviously, within the organizations also, talents are shifting by taking that internal job opportunities. That's as far as IJPs are concerned. But the external talent, I would say there's a good 20% migration, which is clearly happening as we speak.
Very valid points brought out there. So far we have explored what the global clients expect. We've examined what is the role of academic partnerships. We've also considered what the talent perspective is. So let's now approach our final question. What would be your prediction for the next wave of GCC expansion in tier 2 and tier 3 cities? Will they become the new default? Your thoughts?
Yes, currently tier 2, tier 3 contributes maybe 5 to 7% of overall GCCs in India. So what I forecast is, what I predict is that this would be anywhere close to around 12-15% way forward in the next few years, with emerging hubs like Vizag, Coimbatore, Kochi. So these are cities where there is a lot of potential available.
I'm going to throw in some numbers, Ragini. Currently, we have around 1,950 GCCs in India, end of 2024. The prediction by next 2 years is we're definitely going to hit the 2,000 mark and above. Now, the current distribution, like how Vimal said, is around 15% goes to the tier 2, tier 3, and the majority goes to 2 major tier 1 metros, and then they break it down further to figure it out where it is. But it also sees that there's going to be a huge shift in by 2029, 2030, where the study it says, this is from the NASSCOMs and the EYs, so in doing that, tier 2 is going to take a bigger chunk of the ones who are coming in, because they're going to be so established and well ahead of these guys that they know that they're going to be much ease and way how any of the GCCs want to come in there. So there's going to be an absolute shift in the way this is going to look through. We don't have, as much as we're talking the strength of might of muscle of tier 1s, there's a place where they're going to exhaust everything. We cannot leverage them too much long for that. So when that's there, tier 2s definitely are going to win hands down. They're more organically going to be getting business coming in there. Most of the GCCs are going to focus a lot more over there. They will still get the benefits of grade A infrastructures. They will still get the best of grade A candidates. I think to your question when you said why candidates prefer tier 2, there's something which is more from a TA perspective which I see and I struggle, is that someone who's in a, let's say, an associate manager or a deputy manager in a tier 1 has an easy job sitting in tier 2 as a manager or a senior manager. Very easily, because they are more than happy to bring someone who's worked in the bigger organizations, who's experienced a lot, to say that, can you just start something with us easily? I've seen a lot of them shift for titles. In India, it's a very normal thing when you shift for titles. They're happy to pay and they're happy to move that way. They're more mobile on that. So given that fact, you will see tier 2 is really eating up a lot from a talent perspective, from an infrastructure perspective, from a growth perspective. There's more probabilities which I see there, because tier 1 by then will be very exhausted. Leveraging will be very less.
I think I'm conscious of time. Your just closing thoughts, maybe 30 seconds.
Sure. So the fact is GCCs are overcrowded and getting overcrowded in the tier 1 cities, and as we already know, there is good 37 to 40% growth rate which is happening in tier 2 in comparison to tier 1. I think post-pandemic, operating models have changed. when still some of the organizations are trying to operate in a hybrid world, hybrid sort of a model, organizations are trying to think, when we are operating in similar fashion in a tier 1, why can't we open up a small satellite center or a serious tier 2 business? It is going to give a huge cost benefit for organizations as well. There is a good 20% lesser infrastructure cost, real estate cost, that one has to look at from a tier 1 versus tier 2. So it's definitely cost, talent, scalability, and I think we see this evolution moving at a much faster pace in the tier 2 trends as well. Yeah.
So my closing thoughts would be just 10 seconds we have got. Just 2 data points that we need to dwell on. 25% of world's workforce is going to reside in our country by 2035. So spare a thought on that, right? And when we talk about the creamy layer of that, which is working in GCCs, currently I guess it sits at 1.8 million or something like that. And by that yardstick, whatsoever is the current workforce, this is going to swell to, I think, something like 4 million or 4.5 million. So whether our cities are equipped to host so many people, and then the people who support their lifestyles. So I guess it is a demographic question. It is an emotional question, as well as it is a practical thing. It is but natural that these things will go into tier 2 and tier 3. That is my thought. Faster they do it, better it will be for everybody's good. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, thank you all. Thank you, gentlemen, for this truly insightful discussion. It's clear that the future of GCCs is not just metro-led, but it's multi-centered, agile, and full of possibility. Thank you.